Hello, everyone. I'm going to introduce you to one of the best qualitative analysis software. It's called MAXQDA. And as you can see here, when you open MAXQDA, this is what you're going to see. So let me open one of my projects so that I can give you an idea about how it looks like. Then I'm going to introduce you to this software. And if you are new to this software, don't be overwhelmed. When you go there, you can see a lot of functions and you don't know where to click. What should I use? Which one is the best? But the good thing is that there are some of the basic functions that can help you to analyze your data and present your findings. And this is what my video is all about. I'm going to demystify the process so that you'll be able to upload all your transcript, code all your transcript, develop themes, and also visualize and export the outputs that are needed for you to start writing your report, right? So this software can be used to analyze both qualitative and quantitative data. And as you can see, you can upload any kind of qualitative transcript, and even you can upload a survey data for the system to help you to analyze. As you can see here, this is my document, and these are the codes that I've created. You can see that my first research question, and I have all my themes here. And then when you go down here, I have the second research question and the themes that are under. And here too will be the display of the transcript. So you can see that this is transcript P1, and this is the display of participant 1 transcript. You double click here, you can also display participant 2 transcript. Then you may ask me, where are the excerpts? How can I easily get access to all the quotations that are relevant? Very simple. If you want to get all the quotations that are relevant, you can just click on the document and it will select, or we call it activate, all the transcript here. Then you can also click on this part, right? So let's say you want to see all the quotations related to research question 1. You click on research question 1 container and it will select all the themes and the codes, right? You can see the codes under everything has been activated. And you can see here that there are 14 coded segments. Segments are quotations that have been extracted from the data. So these are all the 14. And you can easily create a word cloud based on all the quotations here. You can click here and create a word cloud. And as you can see, within a few seconds, you have your word cloud. You can make an adjustment to it. You can go to format. You can adjust the colors that you want to use. You can make a lot of adjustment. You can export after that, right? So when you go to start here, you can export this word cloud. You can also interact with your segment by clicking on chat with listed text segments. So you can interact with that with AI. So there are many things that you can do with your data. It's limitless. It's a lot. And that's why sometimes people will become so overwhelmed. They don't know which function that you have to use. But this is why you are here. I'm going to show you those functions that can help you to get your findings and start writing. And if you want me to go into detail any of the function, please let me know. I will do a detailed video, a longer video concerning that. This is just an overview, so to help you to get started. So what am I going to talk about today? I'm going to talk about MAXQDA. And before I do a demonstration, let's understand basic information about qualitative analysis. And then I'll go ahead and show you how to use this tool in an efficient way so that we can get most of it. So before I talk about MAXQDA, I just want to introduce myself. I'm a methodology expert and I'm also the founder of the Center for Research Method Consulting. And if you have any questions about your study, or if you want to analyze your data and you're not sure about how to analyze, you can consult me. I'll be able to provide you all the information. If you want to contact me, my email address is in the description section. You can use that to get in touch with me, and I'll be able to meet you one-on-one and address any question that you have about your qualitative research. And also don't forget to subscribe to my channel. It keeps the channel going, right? So in this presentation, I'm going to talk about qualitative analysis. I just give you a brief information about qualitative analysis and also give you the types of analysis, different two main types of analysis. I'm going to also talk about coding, right? And lastly, I'll show you how to use MAXQDA from the beginning to the end. So what is qualitative analysis? We have many definitions of qualitative analysis, but think about this one, right? So it's a process of coding. Coding is identifying the information that are significant and developing a label to represent that information you have identified. Sorting. After you have identified significant information and developed codes, another process is categorizing the code so that at the end of the day, you have themes addressing your research question. Connecting. Sometimes you want to go beyond just categorizing the codes and developing themes. You also want to find out the connection between the themes and what a kind of relationship that you can see based on the data. Informed by the data, what are the connections that you can see from the data? Based on that, you'll be able to develop a theory that can be used to explain a process or a phenomenon. You can see it's like preparing the data so that the information will be consumable to your audience. You are preparing it, you are grouping them, you are extracting information that are significant. Then you are presenting the way that makes sense to your audience. You are reducing, as you are doing the analysis, you are taking the information that are not relevant out and only focus on the relevant information. What are the relevant information? Any information that will help you to address your research question or meet the purpose or the objective of the study. It's also a way of representing the data. You can use visual representation, word cloud, word tree, tables, diagrams to represent what participant gave you. Data analysis can be viewed as summarizing the data so that it will be consumable to your audience. When you think about data analysis, think about all these concepts, right? So if you want to learn more about how to analyze your qualitative data, my book, Step-by-Step Guide to Qualitative Data Coding, will be the best for you. So this one is the first edition. The second edition is coming very soon in March 2026. So there are many types of qualitative analysis, right? But the two main types that are popular is the thematic analysis and also content analysis. Thematic analysis use inductive process. You go through all the transcripts, right? Identify information that are significant and then develop codes and categorizing the codes and developing themes. So you are developing themes as you go through the data, right? And it's very different from content analysis because content analysis how we generate codes and themes informed by the literature or the conceptual framework or the initial data that you have reviewed. Then you go through the data, identify evidence, and connect them to the codes and themes that you have already generated. So that's the two main different types, but you know there's always going to be similarities. If you want to know more, you can read more about this so that you see which one you think is appropriate for your study. But for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to use thematic analysis process, right, where it follows the inductive process. So another concept that you have to know about is coding. What is coding? Coding is searching or looking for relevant information. You're going to ask me, what is relevant? Any information that will help you to meet the objectives of the study or address a research question or that is important to you based on what you are looking for is relevant. So you go through, not all the information participants are giving is relevant, right? So you have to go through and extract the ones that you think is important. So you extract. Then you develop a label. A code is just a tag that represents the significant information. So after coding, you can categorize your code to develop themes and then use the themes to address your research question. But sometimes you can go beyond developing themes. So now we move on to MAXQDA. And these are the things I'm going to talk about. I'm going to show you how to prepare your data preparation process. Secondly, I'm going to talk about setting up your demographics. Third one is creating containers for your research question. And the fourth one is coding your data, right? What is the data coding process? And then I move on to how to categorize your code and to develop themes. And lastly, a lot of ways of developing visual presentation, so we can try some of them and then explore which one may be significant for you. So let's start with the first one, data preparation process. So imagine that you have interviewed about 5 participants. But before I even talk about participant tracking, let me give you a little background about the data that we're going to use. So imagine that you are doing a study, and the purpose of this qualitative study is to explore primary healthcare physician experience about the causes and solutions of burnout. And then I have 2 research questions, one for the causes of burnout. What are the causes of burnout among primary healthcare physicians? And then the second one is about what can be done to reduce burnout among primary healthcare physicians. So the causes and the solutions, right? And this is the demographic information. I've given them P1, P2, P3, P4, P5, their age, gender, years of experience, and ethnicity. So this is the information that you have about your participant. Let me show you one of the transcripts. This is the first participant transcript. So it has the demographics and also the answers to the questions. This is not a lot of information. This is for the purpose of this demonstration, right? So a normal transcript, you have a lot of pages. So these are the questions and the responses. And then what we're going to do is that we're going to make them ready for us to upload. One thing that we have done is that we have given each of them a label. So this one is participant 1 or P1, as you can see here. So, and then I've removed any identifiable information from here. So I think it's ready for us to upload them into the system. So let me close that and put this one here. So in data preparation, what we're going to do is that we're going to upload the data that I've shown you, right? We may need to also group the data, but it's not required for you to group them. But I'm going to show you how to group your data if you want to. It's also not required to develop document sets, but I'm going to show you how to do that. And then the tab that we're going to use for this is Import tab. So I have my MAXQDA here. So I'm going to open MAXQDA. I double click on the icon and then about to open. So this is what you see when you open MAXQDA. As you can see here, I have the pro version. So, and a single user license. And you see here that I have the PA Philip Edu. This is my ID in the system. If you want to see your existing files or projects, you can look at for it from here. It will show your recent project, but we want to create a new project. So you click on new, and this is what you're gonna see. It's gonna give you the chance to type the project name. So I will just type burnout project, and then I look for a place to save. I will save it here. Now I have open MAXQDA. The next one is to upload all my transcripts. The easier way is to drag and drop. So you can just select all your transcripts here. I've selected my transcript and then I drag and drop them here, right? Very simple. Sometimes there are more than one way of doing things in MassQDA. The second option is to click on the transcript, right? Test PDF tables, you click on that, and then you look for the transcript, right? In this case, I think it's here. Let me look for them. Yes, so I select them, right? And then I click on open. I've already sent it here, so I already have it here. So, and as I said, if you have audio, video, you can always upload if you have images. Any kinds of qualitative data, even survey data, quantitative and qualitative, you'll be able to upload. A website, you have a lot of options. Emails, you can upload emails and analyze them here. So now we have them here, right? So looking at the PowerPoint, we have upload, but we can also group documents. Let me show you how to group. It's not required to group, but let's assume, let's make a little assumption here. Let's say you interview participants and also you did focus group, right? So you can create a file for interview transcript and also another file for focus group. How do you do that? You just bring your cursor here and you see the plus sign. You click on the plus sign and then you click on new document group. You click on that and then you can even click on it again and then change the name, right? So it says group one, but I'm going to change the name to interviews, right? And I can select all of them and drag and drop them here. You see that? I can create another one for focus groups. Click on the group, second group, focus. See that? Focus group. And then if I have uploaded information about focus group, I can drag and drop them here. Or I can click on the plus sign and then I can import that document. So you see how you can group your transcript, right? We can even group them based on gender. You can group them based on country of origin. You can group them based on ethnicity. You can group them the way that you want, but it's not required for you to group. Because it's not required, I can just delete them because I don't need them, right? I can just delete that. So what I'm going to do is remove them from this file folder and bring them back to document, and then I can delete interviews. Now I have my transcript. What about sets? So think about sets as temporary groups that you can create, right? And the unique part about set is that a file or a participant can be in more than one set, right? So I can decide that, oh, let me create sets that focus on young physicians, right? And let's assume that participant one and three are young physicians, right? Let's assume that. So I click here, right click, and then I can create new set. And here I will say young physicians. And then I can select and drag and drop. You select and drag and drop, right? So I have two members under this set, right? And as I said, if you don't want the set, you can easily delete the set and it will not affect the data, right, that you have coded. So you can go ahead and delete if you want to. You can click on remove set and then you can remove that, right? But if you remove it from under the document, then you may lose what you have coded. So you see the difference between set and document. For the document, when you have document groups, participant has a chance to be in one group. For sets, if you have two sets, participant can be in two sets or three sets. Participant can be in more than one set. If you are confused, don't worry about it. You may not need to even use sets. So don't worry about it. But the most important thing is that you have uploaded all your transcript into the system. And you see down here, codes. This is where you create containers for your research question. So how do you create containers for your research question? First, let's go back to our research question and see. So I have my two research questions, right? I always advise that when you're doing your coding, you have to code based on your research question. Sometimes you may not have your research question, you may have objective, you can code based on objectives, but I don't recommend you coding based on your interview questions. Your interview questions are questions that you ask participants. After asking participants, you don't need interview questions as a way of coding your data, right? But you need your research question to go through the data and identify information that is significant in code. Imagine you are coding by your interview questions, then you're going to have a lot of themes to present. Let's say you have 10 interview questions and you have themes under each of the research questions. It's going to be overwhelming. So it's very important for you to code based on your research question. Now, when you see here, as you can see here, I have two research questions. One is for the courses and one is for the solution. So first, what I will do is I will label my research question. I will say maybe RQ1, right? And then I would say burnout courses, right? Then I'm going to label this one. It doesn't have to be a perfect label, but a label that will remind you of the research question. So RQ2, I'll type burnout solutions, right? And you can even write in a different way. Some you can even say, can even label it as, let me show you. We have many ways of labeling. Let me go here. You can label it as burnout causes, and in parentheses, you can say RQ1, right? You can label it in any way that you want. The most important is that these labels will remind you of the research question. Now that you have labeled your research question, you go back here, you see this icon, you click on that, and then this one shows up, right? So this window is asking you about the name of the code. The name of the code here is because we just want to create containers for the research question, right? We can bring this one here and type here, Bernard courses, or we can even make it this way. Press RQ1, right? Bernard courses. As I say, you can arrange in any way that you want. You can give it a color if you want. I don't normally do that. Maybe let me try this time and give it this color, right? And then you see the place that says code memo. Think about code memo is an additional information that you want to write about this code. What does this code represent? Normally, you can describe it, or maybe you can say this code represent a research question, this and this and that. Or you can just copy and paste the research question there, right? Just to remind you that this is representing your research question one, right? Then you click OK. So when you do that, the code comes here, right? Or the container that you create for the research question comes here. You're going to do the same thing for research question two. So you go here, you click on new code, and then this time you're going to bring burnout solutions here. And then you can put the research question two in parentheses. As I said, you can bring the research question two parentheses in front or at the back. Then you choose the color, maybe green. As I said, it's not required to choose the color. And then you bring your research question here. So this one is the research question two, and you click on OK. Now you have containers for your research question. You see the set here? It comes here again. The same principle. You can create a set, right? Or a group of codes here, right? You could create a group of code, a temporary one that will have a list of codes there or themes that you can explore further, right? Just think about this. Sometimes, let's say you are using a granite theory, right? The first stage that you want to do is to address a research question. And maybe the second stage is to select the themes or the codes that you can use to develop a theory. You can use a set to select some of the codes or themes, right, that you can use to explore further. As I said, it's not required to use this one. So if it's confusing for you, you don't have to use it, right? And if you want me to do a video about only sets, let me know. I'll be happy to present about that. But I just want this process to be very simple. I'm only focusing on the functions that will be useful as a beginner to finish your analysis. Now, hoping that you are following me, right? If you have any question, put in the comment section and I'll be happy to address them for you. And don't forget to subscribe, right? So now we have brought all our document here, right? We have created containers for the research question. What is the next process? Let's look at a PowerPoint. We finished data preparation process. The next step is setting up demographics, right? How do you set up the demographics, right? So as you can see here, we are going to create variables. This too is not required for you to create variables. If you did not collect any demographic information, you don't have to use this variable function, right? But if you have demographic information and you want to bring it into the system, then you can create variables, right? And then when you go there, you can insert variable values after creating that variable, right? Variable values. So the variable could be age and the values will be the number, right? So 20 years, 10 years, right? And also there's an option, it's optional. There's an option for you to upload their demographic information, right? So instead of you manually putting the demographic information into the system, if you have them in Excel spreadsheet in the format that is required, you'll be able to upload that. So I'm going to show you that, right? So let's go back here. So as you can see, let me show you, I have my demographics here, right? So this is my demographic. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go to variables, right? I go to variables tab, and then I click on list of document variables. So think about document variables like participant, document participants, right? Variables, participant demographics, right? So when you click on document, list of document variables, this is what you're going to see. These are the ones that the system has set up. Don't worry about it. It may be confusing, but don't worry about it now. What we are interested in is to create our own variables, right? And what are you going to do? You see this place, new variable, you click on that, and then you give it a name. The first variable is age. So what you're going to do is that I type age, right? And then age is an integer, right? Because we're just going to put the numbers there. And then we click on OK, right? You see here missing value. I don't put any information here. Some people put something like negative 999 just to indicate that it's a missing information, but don't worry about it. Just leave that place alone and click on OK. So when I click on OK, you see the age here, it came here, it's an integer and it's checked. So it's going to be displayed, right? And you see here that it's blue in color. This means that you created it. The variables that you did not create will be in red. The ones that you create will be in blue. Let's create our second variable. You click on this plus sign, and then the second variable is gender, right? Let me see, gender. And then gender is in text, right? We can indicate male and female, right? So you click on OK, right? And you see gender has shown here. You can also delete it if you don't think it's a good variable or you don't want to use that variable anymore. You can delete. Click on this and it show you, do you want to delete? I don't want to delete, so I click on cancel. But you cannot delete the red ones because it's in the system. They developed it. The developers developed it, so you don't touch that. Then the next one is you click on here and I go here and I type years of experience. And the years of experience too is integer because we're going to put numbers there. Click on OK. You have it here. The last one is ethnicity. It's also a test. Click here, right? So now you have created your variables. That's called list of document variable. Think about this list of participant variable. Document participant, right? Now you see this icon here, data editor. This is where you click on it to put all your values under each of the variables there. So let's click on data editor. And you can always go back to the list of document variable by clicking on this one, take us back. And click this one and take us to this place, right? So you can always go back and forth. So as you can see here, we have all the variables here, but the values are not there, right? So what do you have to do? You bring the values here. So you have document name, which is participant information, participant P1, P2 onto P5. And document group, you don't have any document group, we didn't group them. That's why there's nothing there, right? So age, participant P5 is 65. So I put 65 there. P4 is 33, P3 is 70, P2 is 55, P1 is 37, right? We go to gender, P1 is male, P5 is female, yes. P4 is female, P3 is male, P2 is male, and P1 is female. So also you can rearrange this if this one is from P5 to P1, but you can click on it to arrange it nicely, like P1 to P5. So the next one, experience. So P1 is 12, P2 is 25, P3 is 2, P4 is 2. I think P3 is 35. I made a mistake, 35. P4 is 2, P5 is 30. Ethnicity. We have the P1 is an African American. So let me copy that and put it here. You always double click. If you want to copy and paste, you double click there because before you. So I double click here to bring the cursor there and paste it, paste it, paste it, paste it. Okay, so I have all my information here, right? I have my demographics here. So I'm done with my demographics. It takes time for you to do it, right? But I'm going to show you if you want to upload that info demographics. How do you do that? So when you finish your demographics, just click on close, and then you're done with your demographics, right? But let's go back to the list of document variables again. And I'm intentionally going to remove because I'm going to show you how to bring it through using the Excel spreadsheet, how to upload that demographic information into the system. So I'm going to show you. Okay, so there are two ways of doing that, right? One way, because the formatting is very different, right? The formatting should start with document group and then name and then all the variables. So let me show you how mine looks like. So this is how the format should look like, right? You see the document group. I didn't put any of the files in document group, so I don't have anything here, but you should have a column, say document group. You should have a column stating document name and also the file numbers, P1, P2, the file numbers. If you use some names there, names should be here. The names for the files or the documents should be the exact names here. And then you bring all the demographics. So you can see all the demographics here, right? Information. That's how the format should look like if you want to import. If you don't do it this way, the system will not be able to accept the document, right? Or the demographic information, right? So if you can arrange it this way, that will be all great. So if you do that, you can just click on import, right? And then look for the variable or look for the document, and this is what is going to show, and click on import. And then you have your demographic information here. So you see how easy the process is? But the most important is making sure that you have structured it the same format as it here. If you have difficulty structuring it, there's another way that you can pass through. Let me show you. Let's again delete what we have already created. I just delete it because I want to demonstrate, show you something. So let's go back here. Data editor. You click on export, right? Because you want to export the format and you add your demographics to them. So I click here, export, and I want to export in a spreadsheet. And then I'll give it a different name, maybe by now, right? And then I save it. So when you export it, this is what you're going to have, right? So the system has already given the format. So what you have to just add is to add your variables and also the values. I already have my variables here. Let me show you the one that is not in the format that we are looking at. So you see this one, demographics, right? It's not in the format. So what am I going to do? I just going to copy only the demographic parts. And remember, make sure that everything's arranged the same way that you have here. You see this arrangement P1, P2, P3, because you don't want to miss the numbers up, right, or the values here. So you copy that and I bring it here and I have this information, right? And then you save it. Maybe save as to save it where you want to save. So after saving it, you can close it and then go back here and then download, right? Or you go back here and upload. So you click here and then look for it and then click on import. See how simple the process is. So you see that we have many ways of accomplishing a goal, right? When it comes to using MassQDA. Most of the time we have more than one way. So I've taught you about 3 ways that you can bring your demographic information into MassQDA. I hope everything is clear. I'm going very slow because I want you to get it right because I can see that maybe this is the first time of you using MassQDA. Now we have demographic information there, right? We have already have our transcript here. We have created containers for our research question. The next process is to start the coding process. So the coding process is we open our transcript. So we're going to open one of the transcripts. We select information that is significant by selecting the quotation that is significant that can address our research question. And then what we do is that we create a code and then we connect the quotation to the code, right? So these are the steps that you have to follow to go through all the transcript. And let me show you how it's done. Let's go to MassQDA. I double click on the P1 and it will show here. You can even bring this one a little bit down so that you can see everything, right? So what we're going to do is that go through and identify information that is significant, and then you'll be able to develop a code representing that. So as we can see here, I can see here long hours, right? It's one of the causes of burnout. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to develop a label called having long hours that will represent this concept of long hours, right? That they mention. So what you're going to do is that you can go to research question 1 here, right? And click on the plus sign and then type long hours. I put the long hours in parentheses because it's participant own words, right? But you don't have to do that. This one just remind me that it's participant own words. So having long hours. And you can give it a color if you want, right? And then what you can do here is it's not required, but you can define what the code represent, right? So you can type this code represent participant expression of having to spend a long time at work, right? So you can type that information here. But as I said, it's not required, especially if, you can easily determine what this code represent. But if you have time, it's good to define the code. What is your definition of the code? How do you operationalize the code, right? So what does the code represent? Defining it is helpful, especially when you go beyond developing codes and also categorizing the code to develop things, right? So you could do that, but as I said, it's not required for you to define that. So when you are ready writing about what this code represents, you click on OK, right? And that information comes here. Then this is an empty container. There's nothing inside. What you have to do is to drag and drop what you have selected and connect that information to this one. And when you connect, that information comes here. Let's try the next one, right? So the next one is about numerous clinical and administrative tasks, right? So as you can see here, this one is significant. It's one of the causes of burnout, right? So you decide what label do you have to use to represent that. One label could be having numerous work-related tasks, right? So you can click on the plus sign here and then type your code and also define if you want to define, as I said, it's not required, and click on OK. Now you can drag and drop that information to this one. So that's what you're going to do. You go through, identify information that is significant, and drag and drop. Let's try another one. Let's say spend time in prayer and reflection, right? So the label that I gave to that is engaging in meditation. Engaging in meditation. So let's see. You select this one, and then you go here. I click on a plus sign. This one is addressing research question 2. So I go to research question 2, click on the plus sign, and click on put the information here, the label, click on OK, and drag and drop, right? So that's what you're gonna do. And as I always tell you, there are more than one way of coding, right? Another way is to right click here and go to new code, right? And then you go ahead and create a code, right? So there are always more than one way of doing stuff, right? So you go through, right? So when you finish the first participant, you go to the second participant, you double click that. And the same way, you go through and select information that is significant. So let's say that I haven't work-related tasks. I think this place talks about having work a lot of work-related tasks. So you see here that we don't have to create a new code, right? Because this one talks about completing a lot of tasks, right? A lot of things they have to do. So you have already created a container that's related to this one. So you just select and drag and drop it into this container, right? So the principle here is that you create a new container if the existing container cannot be connected to the evidence that you have seen or the quotation that you have found in the data. So that at the end of the day, you may have more than one quotation in a specific container or code. So see the codes as containers, and then you go through the data and drag and drop that information into the container. If you don't find anything that can be dropped into, then you create a new container, which is a code that can be used to connect to the new evidence that you found. So that's how the coding process is going to be. Let me show you how the final product looks like. Let me open one of the projects, and then you see how the final product look like. So as you can see, they have gone through all the transcripts and have created containers for each of the research questions. And then as you can see here, this container for the research question is 0, but when you try to collapse, then it add everything up to 15, right? So the 15 is all the significant segments. 15 significant information are connected to this research question 1, and then 12 significant information are connected, right? 12 quotations. When you open it, you can see that for this, having numerous work-related tasks has 4 significant information. If you want to see that, you can click on that, double click on it, and when you click on the code, it will show you the quotation, right? So you see that this is from P2, and this is the quotation, this from P1, and this is the quotation. So if you want to see what is in the container, you double click. And then if you want to see what the quotation is, you click on the respective research question and then a respective code and related to the research question, and then you can see the quotation here. Even here, you can even recode. If you want to code here, let's say I want to code this one, I can select and then go to code retreat segment, right? Click on that. And you can also even create a word cloud here based on this information. I don't know whether this one will work. It's not a lot of words there. Oh, it was able to work. So you can even create a word cloud based on only this segment or this code, right? Only these 2 segments, right? So you see that I've gone through all and I've created codes based on the significant information. If you, let's say you want to see all the significant information related to research question 1, what are you going to do? You first activate all the documents, right? Or you can activate individual document, or you can click on this one to activate all the documents. So when you activate, there's a little circle here, right, to activate, right? And you can see that 5 documents have been activated. Then I also want to activate all the codes under research question 1. And when you do that, all the segments will be here. See all the segments, or all the quotations that are related to all the codes for research question 1 will be here, right? And then you can do further analysis. You can even click this one to create a word cloud based on only the quotations related to research question 1. You can go to format and change the colors. If you want to change the colors, you can change it to any color that you want. You can change the arrangement the way that you want, right? And you can export it. If you want to export, you go back to start and export that and use it if you want to use. So that is what I have for you concerning developing code. The next step is to categorize the code to develop themes, right? And how do you do that? So let me show you the way that you can categorize the code to develop themes. One option is to do it outside, and I have a videos on how to do it, sorting your code outside, right? But you can do it here, so you don't have to go outside and do it, right? So doing outside means that you have to first export all the codes, right? You go to report and export Smart Publisher. It will export all the codes and also the related quotations, and then you can categorize them if you want to. You can even export the code book, right? And you'll be able to get all this information, right? Since you can do it here, you don't have to export that yet. So I'm going to show you how to categorize your code to develop themes. So let's go back to the PowerPoint and show you what we're going to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to use creative coding function to help us to categorize the code, and then we'll be able to develop themes. So let's go back to the process. So what you have to do is that you know that you have to review the codes, right? Individual codes, and see the characteristics and see how they are related. And based on that, you can group them and then name the groups. And that name for the group will be the themes. I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. And I like the way that you can visually do that in MAXQDA. So what you're going to do is that we go to code, right? And then click on creative coding. And then you see that I have all my codes here. And what are we going to do? We're going to start with research question 1, right? And then trying to categorize the code to develop themes. So what you're going to do is I've selected all of the information related to research question 1, including the research question 1 container, and drag and drop that information in this space. Yes. When you drag and drop, this is what you're going to see. And what you're going to do right now is to think about grouping them based on similarities, right? So it looks a lot to look at, but let's take things step by step. Having numerous work-related tasks is related to having long hours. Having long hours is here, right? And then having long hours, so let's try to, having long hours is also related. You are trying to group them, right? Having long hours and also this group can be related to having trouble, let's see, having trouble carrying out duties, right? And then it's also related to taking care of multiple patients taking care of multiple patients. So all these are quite related, right? So that's what you have to do. You just have to group them based on how they are related. And then being young in the profession is also related to feeling inadequate. So they can be in one place. And I've already grouped them here in my second screen, so that's what I'm looking at. The strategy here is to evaluate each of them and see whether they're related. And you can always change your mind, right? It's not a final thing. You can always change, you can decide, oh, I don't think this one belongs to this group, right? And then we go here and we unrealistic expectation from patient is quite related to working hard, harder than counterpart. And this one may also be related to that one, right? So you explore it also based on the data that you have, right? Now you have to think about for this group, what label do you want to give to it? So these are, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 clusters. So this label, the label that we can give to this one is having high workload, right? So when you decide on a label, you go to, you see here, new code, and then in parentheses, you can start here theme, and then the label that I'll give to this one is having high workload because you are talking about having a lot of workload. You can give it a color that you want, and you can also define it. What do you mean by that? You can say this theme represents participant expression of having a lot of work to do, right? And within a short period of time, and that can also lead to burnout, right? You can describe what you want to do and you click on OK. Now you see this one here, right? Now what we have to do is to connect these four to this theme. How do you connect? You click on link. You see the link here, right? And then you put the cursor here and then drag it to this one. When you do that, it will destroy the link that it have with the research question. You click on the link and connect to this one. You see that I'm linking them, right? So you click on it and drag it and link it to this. Now I have the theme, right? And now I can even link this one to this one, right? Because this one is research question. And under the research question, we have this one, right? When you finish doing the link, you can go click on that icon again so that you can move it. So now you can see that I have these four linking to this theme, right? So I'm going to create another theme that is for this one, being young with the profession. The name of the theme that I gave it is being new in the profession. So I go to new code and I type theme in parentheses. And you know the arrangement, you can even bring the theme here, right? You can do it here if you want to. You can do it any way that you want. The most important is that you are indicating that this one is a theme, right? Right. And then I will change the color to maybe green. And then you can give a description if you want and click on OK. So I have the green one here. And then the same way you click on this link and then drag and link it here, drag and link it here, right? Now you cannot connect the research question to the theme, right? So this theme is under the research question and these codes are under the theme, right? So you're gonna do the same thing for this one. This one, I did it having less time with family. So what I'm gonna do is I click on this one, new code, I type the theme and then indicate and then click on this one and click on OK. And then I can connect it to the code here. I drag and connect to the code. When you do that, it disconnects to the main one. Now I can connect this one, the research question to it. Right. And then I can click on this one again so that I can move it. Right. And move it around. So you're gonna do the same thing for the two left. Putting in much effort to be the theme that I want to use. I click on the new code. I click on theme and then bring that information here and then click on OK and click on the link and drag it to connect to this one. Click on the link again, drag it to connect to that one and click on the link and bring this one here. And you have to click on the link so that you can connect the research question to the theme. So now I click on the link again to move stuff. So you see that I have my first theme, second theme, third theme, and a fourth theme, right? Now, what do you have to do? You can, when you close, you have to do the same thing for research question too, but the space is too much going on here. So you can close it and then come back and do for the research question too, right? So when you close this one, the prompt is that, do you want the structure to reflect what you have here, right? So now when you click on yes, see what will happen. You see the system has arranged, I see the theme here and the codes under the theme and the codes under them, the theme and the codes under them. You see, and then when you close this one, you have all the themes here. So you see how easy to categorize your code to develop themes. I'm going to do the same thing for the second one, right? So if you want to do the same thing for the second one, you go back again to creative coding, and then you can do the same thing that we did, right? So if you want to do the same, you select all of them and drag them here. And the same way that I did, right? I go to the arrow. First, maybe I have to click and then, oh, first I have to group them, right? And then after grouping them, when you are satisfied, you create a container for the themes and do the same thing. You close it and say yes. And then you get all the information here, right? So let's see how the funnel product looks like. So like I go to, I want to show you the funnel one that I've already finished. So I go home, open, and so you see here that I have my theme for the second research question. This time I brought a theme here. You can bring it at the beginning or the end, right? This one I brought it to the end. And we can also see the themes for the second research question too, right? So you done your analysis. You see how easy the process is? And then the next stage is visualization. How do you visualize? There are many ways of visualizing. One of the ways is to look at the kinds of words that they use and how many times in relation to a specific theme. Let's say we are looking at this theme, having high workload. And there are 7 segments. You can bring the segment here and then create a word cloud. How do you do that? You go to You see here, you activate all the document by clicking on this one to select all the document or activate all the document. You see that 5 documents have been selected. Then you only activate the theme that you are interested in. I click on this having high workload and all the 7 quotation comes here, right? Then what you're gonna do is click on word cloud and then you will be able to get a word cloud. And as I said, you can always go and reformat it the way that you want, right? If you want, if you are okay with what you have, you can export it or send it to a spreadsheet where you can use that information later. So think about this QTT worksheet is like a document that you are now extracting all the information that you want to use for your report and putting them in one place. And after that, you can export it from MAXQDA. So let's go to the PowerPoint to think about is visualization. What are the things that you could do? Well, you can use um, code statistics to have, code and the frequency. So we're gonna do this one and do the second one, which you use the mixed method tab to do a cross tabulation, create a cross tabulation between the demographics and also the themes that you have. And also you can also explore segment metrics and then see what you're going to get. So these are the 3 things that you could do. There are many, many things, right? But the ones that is easy for you to do, for you to start working on your results is these. So let's go back there and try the first one. So the first one, you're going to click on the code tab. First, before you use the code, you use the statistics, make sure that nothing has been activated, right? So you always make sure that nothing has been activated before you go through the process, right? So we go to code and then select code statistics and select the second option. And then you bring in the containers for the research question that you are interested in here, right? And then you see here, unit of analysis, what you're going to focus in is only the coded segments, right? The number of significant information that are connected to a specific theme, right? Related to a specific research question. Aggregate code, sub of the themes has a subcode, right? So the system will add all the significant information that are connected to the codes, the subcode, and then add everything up and then indicate for each of the themes. If you are not clear about it, let's see first, right? And click here. And then as you can see here, this is for research question 1. And these are all the 4 themes, right? And the segment are significant information connected to the theme. So you see that 7 segments are connected to this one, 3 segments are connected to that, and also the percentages, right? What you can do is that you see this place, chart, view, you click on that and to show you a chart that you can show, right? And you can easily export that. You can even change it the way that you want. You can also change as a pie chart here. And then you can export it by clicking on this one to export, right? And you can also send it to QTT worksheet. Think about the QTT worksheet as a separate document that helps you to compile all the information that you need for you to start writing your findings. So think about this like whenever you create something that is very good for your study, you put them into this worksheet and then you go back to the worksheet and you have all the information and they can export everything at once instead of exporting things individually where it can be confusing for you. So if you're okay with that, you click on this one and then it will indicate which kind of worksheet that you want to put. If you already created worksheet there, you can put in the already created one. If you want to create a new one, you can click on the first option here. And then the information will be sent to the new worksheet that you have. Even you can make comments about what this one represents, right? Or what your thoughts are. And then after everything, you can export this worksheet. And as I said, the worksheet will have all the information that you need for you to start writing, right? So you see how the system is so easy. And this software is awesome, right? It has a lot of options, but if you take your time and choose what you want, you'll be efficient in presenting your findings, analyzing your data and presenting your findings. So let me close this one and go back to and then we can do the same thing for research question 2, right? And it's showing here. You can always change stuff. You can say that, oh, I don't want the percentage anymore. I just want the numbers. You can, oh, I don't want the I don't want the numbers. I want only the percentage. You always can change things here or you can change it to this type, right, of bar chart, or you can change it to pie chart. There's so much options. You can even change, I think you can even change the colors if you want to, right? After that, if you like, you can go here. We have developed a worksheet too, right? The second worksheet, we can click on that and send this information to the second worksheet, right? So that's what you can do with the visualization. Let's try another visualization. Another visualization that you can use is go to mix method and then you click on cross tabulation and cross tab and click on cross tab again. And you can see here that the system here, if you want to, I think I've already brought this information here. So let me delete them first so here will be empty, right? So let's say you want to explore information about gender, right? You want to explore the kind of themes that are connected to a specific gender. So in this case, you're going to double click gender and it's empty here. You're going to indicate males, right? And then click on and double click on gender again because you want to also bring females, right? You want to see the codes that are connected to male and female. You can also bring other variables. You can bring age. You can bring ethnicity. It depends on what you want to focus on. Let's say you bring ethnicity, you can double click on that and then indicate African American, double click on it again, indicate the second one. Asian American, double clicking again and indicate the third one. Right. So you can always choose the one that you want to focus. You can even choose only one group and then see what you're going to get. When it comes to, you have so many options here and click on OK, right? And you see here that this is a cross tab, all the codes that you have here, all the themes, and then connected to each of the participant groups. So the females, you see the three, for this team, three statements were connected, right? So when you click on this one, okay, so when you click on, let's see when you click on this theme, it highlights here. But when you double click, it shows the quotations here, right? And even shows you where the information is, right? So let's try this one. Let me double click. Yeah, when you double click on the one that you are interested in, the information will show here, right? So you see that this cross tab, let me make it bigger. So as you can see here, we have all the themes and then the groups that we have in terms of gender and also ethnicity. And here you can also make a little adjustment if you want to, if you want to focus on percentage. If you don't want to focus, you want to expand it. If you want to expand it, you can do that. So you see that the sum is the number of significant information connected to females and the number of significant information connected to males. If you are okay with this, you can export it or you can send it to your the worksheet that you created, right? And then it goes to the worksheet. So that's what you could do for the crosstab. As you can see here, when it comes to this theme, the males make more mention of this theme than the females. When you look at this one, the females make more mention about, engaging in physical and spiritual activities, and the males didn't talk about that. The females talk about that, engaging in physical and spiritual activities, but the males didn't talk anything about that. So this one can be useful for you to show. You can export if you want, but you can also add it to your worksheet that you can export later, right? So let me close this one. And then if you want me to show you more about any of the topics here, any of the functions, let me know. I will do more videos concerning that, right? And then the last one that I want to show you is the segment matrix. Segment matrix. The same way you go to the mixed methods and you go to segment and you click on the segment matrix. And then this time you can bring, so this is the one that I always brought, right? If you don't want that, you can take them out. So let's take them out for now. Let's focus on age and see what we're going to get, right? So I bring age here and I'll say, I want to group the age into two, right? Because we have a lot of age groups. So I'm going to group them into two. I want the 37 and 33 to be one group, smaller than or equal to, and I think 37. And then I click on age again and I'll say larger than or equal to this, right? So that I can get two groups larger than or equal to 55. So then I click on OK. So now I have two groups here. So as you can see here, when I click on the themes, being new to the profession, these are the statements that they made, right? And then I go to this theme to, so when they haven't high workload, it looks like those who are 50 and older were talking more about having high workload compared to those people who are 37 and younger. So let's try to export this one and see what we're going to get. So I've exported in my matrix. So let me put it in the desktop. And let me go to the desktop and see what I found. And this is what I found. So you see that I have two groups and this is what I found here. So this one can be also very useful for you to, as you write your findings, right? So you see that when it comes to creating tables and illustrations, you have a lot of options, right? But these are the ones that I think will be useful for you. And then you can, as I said, explore further, but this one will be okay for you to use and finish, right? So if you want to see all the information, the output that you have put together, right, or all the output that you have put together that you were exporting to a specific worksheet, you can go to Analyze. And then you see here, question QTT, question theme theory icon. You click on that and it will show you the information, all the things that you have exported, right? Then you'll be able to export them, the worksheet, and then you can use it to work on it, right? So, and there's also some tabs here that you can also enter the information, but it can look a little confusing. If you want me to provide you a video on how to really use this system in terms of the worksheet, please let me know. I'll be happy to do that. And let me see one more thing. When you finish everything and you want to export stuff or you want to export some report, you can go to report and then you can click on Smart Publisher, right? Smart Publisher will publish all the segment, including all the segments related to the codes, right? You can activate all of them. And then you can click on next, and then you can put the title and the subtitle and everything that you want to see on the front page, right? And then when you are done, you click on next. You have to review and see what you want in there. If you are okay, you click on finish, and then you save it. So let me try and save it here. So this is something like this is what you may see. It has a table of content and then it has all the participant information and the user, the person who created participant document, and also the theme, the codes, and also the quotation, everything that you need to start writing, everything is there for you, right? You can also export Codebook, right? So you can click on Codebook and then choose the one that applies to you and click on OK, and then you can export to the Codebook. So this is what I have for you. I hope this introductory video will help you to finish your research using MaxQDA. If you want an advanced version of what I presented to you, please let me know. I'll be happy to do a lot of videos on that. So thank you so much for your time.